All right, so the Atlanta Falcons just hired Kevin Stefanski as their new head coach. Two-time coach of the year, respected offensive mind. It seems like a solid move, right? Well, Baker Mayfield saw the news and immediately hopped on X to let everybody know exactly how he feels about his former head coach. And I felt like this was such a good opportunity to evaluate a brand new coaching hire and then talk about one of the coolest new rivalries that are about to form in the NFL. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to read you what he said word for word because this is absolutely wild. So Dr. Orlando Ledbetter tweeted out that Falcons' Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Shador Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. Baker quote tweeted this and said, "Failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text.call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." Now that right there, that's not just a subtweet, that's a declaration of war. And the craziest part, these two are now going to face each other twice every single season in the NFC South. Baker's in Tampa Bay, Stefanski's in Atlanta, and this is about to become one of the most personal rivalries in the entire NFL. Here's what makes the story so interesting. Because to understand why Baker is this mad, we got to go all the way back to where it started. Back when these two were winning together. Back before Cleveland did what Cleveland always does and completely screw it up. So I'm going to tell you the whole story. Mike Chuck 1212, what's going on, everybody? Let's rewind to 2020. Kevin Stefanski gets hired as the Browns head coach and inherits Baker Mayfield, the first overall pick from 2018, who honestly surpassed all expectations in his rookie year, but took a huge step back in his sophomore year. The Browns had been through coach after coach, and some fans were fearful that Baker was starting to look like a bust. But Stefanski, he came in with a plan. He installed this wide zone play-action heavy offense rooted in the Gary Kubiak coaching tree. It's very simple. You run the ball, sets up play action, let the quarterback operate efficiently, and this was perfect for Baker Mayfield. But what happened next is the Cleveland Browns' best season in over a decade. They went 11-5. Baker threw for over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. The Browns made the playoffs for the first time since 2002. Think about that. 18 years without a playoff appearance, and Baker Mayfield finally got them there. But it gets even better. Wildcard weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers who had started the season 11-0. The Steelers who Cleveland had lost 17 straight times at their stadium. And guess what? The Browns dropped 28 points in the first quarter. They won 48-37 and gave Cleveland their first playoff win since 1994. Baker Mayfield went 21 of 34 for 263 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. And here's the wild part. Stefanski wasn't even on the sideline. He had coached the whole week virtually. Special teams coordinator Mike Pryor was the acting head coach, but the system that Stefanski built, it worked perfectly. That was the Browns' first playoff road win in 51 years. Baker was the guy. Stefanski won Coach of the Year. Everything was beautiful until it all went too. So, what went wrong? Well, 2021 started out with so much hope. The Browns were supposed to build on that playoff run. Instead, everything fell apart. Week 2 against the Texans, Baker partially tore his labrum. That's the shoulder that holds his arm in place. And that's where things get controversial. Instead of shutting him down, the Browns let him keep playing. Baker literally wore a harness during games to keep his shoulder from popping out. Now, some people praised his toughness, and others started wondering why the team didn't protect their franchise QB. And there's actually been reports that people close to Mayfield wondered at the time if the Browns were trying to make Mayfield look as less as possible to more easily explain why they might be moving on from him in the offseason. Think about that for a second. Your starting quarterback, the guy who just won you your first playoff game in 26 years. And there's speculation that the team wanted him to fail so they could justify getting rid of him. Baker went 6-8 that year. He threw for just over 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. His numbers dropped. He was taking hits. He was clearly not the same player, and the relationship with Stefanski, it started to crack. Reports came out that Baker hardly kept his frustrations with Stefanski's play calling and in-game adjustments private. There was the whole Odell Beckham Jr. drama where OBJ's dad posted videos criticizing Baker for not being able to find his son wide open. Baker skipped a post-game press conference after struggling against the Lions. It was a mess, but even with all that, Baker still gave them 8 wins. That was still more wins than the Browns had had in any of the 12 seasons before he got there. And what did Cleveland do to reward him? They stabbed him in the back. March of 2022, the Cleveland Browns made a decision that will go down as arguably the worst trade in NFL history, effectively shutting the window on any hopes that they had of making it to a Super Bowl. If you look at the Cleveland Browns record back when Baker Mayfield was healthy, and you consider the fact that they traded 3 first-round picks, a third-rounder, and 2 fourth-rounders to Houston for Deshaun Watson, who was the worst quarterback in NFL history statistically, you can easily make this argument that this shut hopes that the Cleveland Browns had of making it to the Super Bowl. Now, Deshaun Watson had sat out for the entire 2021 season. He was a quarterback that was facing over 24 civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct. And to make it even crazier, the Browns gave him a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract, the most guaranteed money ever given to an NFL player at that time. And Baker, the guy who won them their first playoff game since 1994, they shipped him to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 5th-round pick, a 5th-rounder. And according to Baker's tweet, Stefanski never even called or texted him after the trade. Now let me tell you how that Watson investment worked out for Cleveland. Watson has started just 19 games in 3 seasons. He missed 11 games in 2022 due to a suspension. He suffered a season-ending shoulder injury in 2023, and then he tore his Achilles in 2024, and then retore it during recovery. His record as a Brown is 9-10. His stats since joining Cleveland is a 61.2% completion rate, 3,365 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in 3 years. Meanwhile, the Texans used all those picks Cleveland gave them to draft Will Anderson Jr., Tank Dell, Kenyon Green, Kalen Bulla, Kamari Lassiter, and more. Houston went from rebuilding to contending, and Cleveland went from Super Bowl hopeful to a disaster. Browns owner Jimmy Allen finally admitted it at the NFL's owners' meetings last year, where he said, "We took a big swing and miss with Deshaun. We thought we had the quarterback and we didn't. A big swing and miss." That's putting it very lightly. Now let's talk about what happened to the guy that Cleveland threw away. Baker Mayfield would get traded to the Carolina Panthers, and his time in Carolina was rough. He went 1-5 as a starter and then got released. But then the Rams claimed him off of waivers, and in just 5 games he found something. Baker would say that it brought the fun back. "When I'm having fun, talking trash, and enjoying it, that's when I'm at my best." Then Tampa Bay came calling, and Baker Mayfield completely transformed. In 2023, his first year with the Bucs, he threw for 4,044 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. He made his first Pro Bowl ever. Tampa won the NFC South, and Baker got his second career playoff win. 2024 even better. Baker threw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns with a 71.4% completion rate and a 106.8 passer rating. He became just the 4th player in NFL history to throw for 4,000-plus yards, 40-plus touchdowns, and complete 70% or more of his passes in a single season. The only other guys to do that was Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow. Since joining Tampa in 2023, Baker leads the NFL in passing touchdowns with 69. He's second in passing yards with 8,044. He's made back-to-back Pro Bowls. He's the first quarterback in Buccaneers franchise history to be selected to multiple Pro Bowls. Now, here's the thing. Even though Stefanski's Cleveland tenure ended badly, I think the Atlanta Falcons made a very smart hire, and this is where the rivalry gets interesting because both sides might actually be really good. Stefanski's offense is built around running the football. His system uses wide zone runs, play action, and keeping the quarterback comfortable. When he had Nick Chubb healthy in Cleveland, the Browns were a top 10 rushing team in his first 3 years. Devin Cook had his first 1,000th season under Stefanski in Minnesota. And who does Atlanta have? The best running back in the NFL, Bijan Robinson, who just led the entire NFL with 2,298 yards from scrimmage. That's the 12th most in a single season in NFL history. He was named first-team All-Pro for the first time this year. Stefanski's wide-zone play-action-heavy scheme is literally perfect for what Bijan does best. Those stretch zone runs with cutback lanes, that's Bijan's specialty. The Falcons article about the hire straight up said that Bijan stands to gain the most from having Stefanski as his head coach. But the Falcons have way more than just Bijan. They have Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts finally broke out as a tight end, and they have a really solid offensive line. They had 4 All-Pros this year. The pieces are there. The question is the quarterback situation with Michael Penn Jr. recovering from a torn ACL and Kirk Cousins on the roster. But here's an interesting note. Stefanski was Cousins' quarterback coach and offensive coordinator in Minnesota. In 2019, they made the playoffs together and Cousins made the Pro Bowl. So, if Penix isn't ready in Week 1, there's already some familiarity there. This Falcons team could be really dangerous really fast. So, now you've got the full picture. Baker Mayfield, the guy who was thrown away by Cleveland, has become an elite quarterback in Tampa Bay. Kevin Stefanski, the coach who won 2 Coach of the Year awards but couldn't survive the Watson disaster, has landed with a loaded Falcons roster. And they're in the same division. They're going to play each other twice every single year. And Baker has made it abundantly clear that these games are personal. Here's what makes Baker so dangerous. He feeds off of disrespect. Remember when Steve Wilkes cut him in Carolina? Baker called that Jets game personal after Tampa destroyed them. No college scholarships coming out of high school. He walked on at Texas Tech, transferred to Oklahoma, and became the first walk-on to win the Heisman Trophy and went first overall in the NFL draft. So every time Tampa plays Atlanta, Baker's going to have extra motivation. Every completion, every touchdown, every win against the Falcons is going to feel like vindication. And for the record, Baker is 2-4 against the Falcons since joining Tampa, including getting swept in 2024. So Stefanski's squad already has his number. You don't think Baker remembers that? This NFC South just got a whole lot more interesting. You've got Baker in Tampa with something to prove against his former coach. Stefanski in Atlanta trying to rebuild his reputation with an elite running back. And twice a year, these two are going to shake hands at midfield, knowing that there's real animosity between them. That's appointment television right there. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.